Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to stay curious with one of our favorite guests, Terry White. Terry, welcome.
Nice to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here. As you
A new
see,
year, a new series of shows.
that's right. And you just signed our new guest registry here, where we use a photo of the trust site,
Correct.
aerial of that to do that there. So we're always glad to have Terry here. You've been coming on our show for over 2 years. We're up to episode 1202 by my cipher and today.
Good
So,
job.
yeah, well, thank you. We'll be an overnight sensation about 2000, I
Yeah.
think. You know how it is. But no, we're always happy to have Terry here. We're going to talk about two interesting aspects of the space shuttle: the extended duration orbiter, the EDO, and the nose cap on the front of the thing there that I'm hiding here, and the beautiful picture of I think that's Discovery on STS 120 that Marty put up there. Marty Winkle being my co-producer for 4 years, and worked on the shuttle engine program as well as the lunar module. And Terry, tell everybody, we have some new people watching us, aren't seen many shows with you maybe. Tell us what your career was like at the shuttle era.
I started out as a mechanic. It wasn't performing as a mechanic for too many months when I was offered a job of assistant supervisor on the new system, the thermal protection system, what the rest of the world refers to as the tile. And from there, I moved up in management and eventually became an orbiter processing chief, working nose to tail, all the processes, getting an orbiter ready to fly. In other words, taking it apart after its previous flight and then installing new hardware, new payloads and that, and getting all of the changes necessary to get it ready for its next flight. So, yep.
Well, we talk a lot about it was in the Nixon administration in 1972 when $5.5 billion was approved to build the orbiters in America's space transportation system. So it was a startup, like we see startup companies all the time, and opportunities for new employees like you that were ambitious, I reckon, were plentiful.
Yes, and what people really don't understand when you talk about what it is for a new program like that, but not only building the new vehicle, but we had to build everything to support that vehicle and to test that vehicle and all of the different things that it needs. And you think of, oh, okay, well, yeah, it's like you pull into an auto garage and you look at, okay, well, here's the car, but look at all the different equipment that's necessary in there just to do the maintenance on the car. And here we have a brand new spacecraft that has some systems that previous spacecraft had, but a lot of them that they do not have. And so we had to not only build the equipment, we had to train the people. People had never worked with a lot of these systems, especially the thermal protection system. So, yeah. So there was a lot of assets to the shuttle that we had to create as we went along with. There was a lot of lessons learned from one flight to the next. So
I'm fascinated. You bring that up, Terry. I'm kind of fascinated by the floor equipment, so to speak, the support structures that had to be built. And I see Marty's lunar module being built from scratch up in Bethpage, Long Island, and I see these structures that they had to set them on, and they had also gimbal them and stuff like that. And man, these, just like the shuttle, these there's a lot of engineering
yeah,
on just those themselves.
we had a lot of the same stuff. And then when we found out, when we started using it, the things that they had designed did not work the way they wanted them to. And a lot of people don't have a hard time grasping it. But here we have this huge reusable spacecraft that does resemble an aircraft in that, but they didn't realize it would take the time and the man hours and the hardware that it took to get it ready from one flight to the next. In the early days, when we brought the orbiter into the orbiter processing facility, we actually lifted the orbiter by using hand jacks, small hydraulic jacks, to lift this 200,000 pound vehicle up, so that we could
with a long
yes sit there
leverage,
jacking it up and down, and small jacks, but to do that, because we had to change the tires and we had to open and close the landing gear doors. We had all this, and we had to change the heights, and we initially took it up to what we call maintenance height, and that so that we could open the payload bay doors and all the platforms would interface with it. But we found out they didn't have the access that we needed, so we had to modify the platforms, which there was a lot of that work we could not do while the vehicle was in there, because this was a spacecraft that we had to maintain in a pristine, clean condition. So, a lot of work happened when the orbiter left the orbiter processing facility. Then we had to do all these things that we realized to make our job easier when it came back again. So, yeah.
Well, like I said, the shuttle was a startup company, and we kind of had a big to-do last night with a startup company called Blue Origin.
Yes. Yeah, they've been in business for a while, and everybody's been wondering. They built a nice facility out or just outside the Space Center, and then, when are they ever going to launch anything? So last night they did. They've launched from other areas of the country, but last night's their first launch from
of course,
Florida.
the suborbital New Shepard, but this was the New Glenn. What a behemoth of a rocket, Marty, that you saw it from your home.
Yeah.
Marty saw it from about 3 miles away. What did it look like from your home? I overslept, I got to admit. My alarm didn't go off. I didn't set it right. And at 3 o'clock, I got up and watched the replay. So what it was,
it sure lit up the sky, but there was a lot of noise. It made a lot of noise, a lot of vibration in that. So, yeah.
Marty, you shared with me an interesting recap. Share that with us on that UCAC family microphone.
Yeah, it's about 2.5, maybe 3 miles away from the launch pad, and you have liftoff, and it's night out, it's dark, it's cold, so I'm sitting in my car. So I get out of my car right at launch time, and I'm leaning against the car, videoing, can't say it, videoing the launch, and I can feel the sound waves bouncing off my chest, and then I realized I feel it on my back. So my car was actually vibrating from the sound waves. So it was like a surround sound or surround vibration around my body. It was really, really unusual for me. It was really, really good.
Did it seem to you to hesitate a little bit on the pad?
It's planned that way, Terry.
Okay.
It's a heavy vehicle. Just like Apollo Saturn V, it took 13 seconds to clear the tower. Since I videoed it, I tried to count the seconds from looked like ignition till I could see it clear the tower. It looked like about 10 seconds.
Yeah,
but that's definitely unofficial.
Yeah, that's what people told me when they were watching it. They thought something was wrong because it sat there, and I said, well, Apollo sat there on the pad for a while before you actually realized it was moving.
Yeah, when people, especially local people, if they've seen the space shuttle go up, it goes up in seconds. I think it clears a tower in 4 seconds.
Once you light those boosters, it's going.
Yeah, and then even SpaceX, their rockets clear the tower probably in 3 or 4 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. So it would definitely appear there could have been a problem. It sat there for a long time. Someone told me it looked like it was laboring to get off. Well, yeah, it's laboring, but it's planned that way. Yeah.
Well, I'm showing on my smart tablet Carlton Bailey's photo of that. I thought, gee, I didn't put CB's photo, and then today's technology. Well, I've got it right here in front of me. So great picture, CB, from his remote camera there. And I know the people from Port St. John, where I live, said that it went in the clouds real quick. So, but noisy, huh? And Marty's talking about feeling something he never felt before.
Yeah. The acoustics of it vibrating the vehicle behind it, yes.
What was the, how much thrust does that have, Tom Usiak? Or I'll bet Steve knows. Steve Jacobs is on there. Because after our broadcast today, I believe we're launching a Starship at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and that's 9 million pounds of thrust. The Apollo is over 7. But this is probably 5 or 6 million pounds, but someone's going to tell me there.
Yeah, Mark, I looked it up before we started to stay curious. I thought it was 5 or 6 million pounds of thrust, but it was just under 4 million pounds.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much there, looking up here. We got Lynn's watching, Lynn Feather. Good afternoon from West Virginia.
Are you staying warm?
No, she's not. She's in West Virginia, by God, Virginia.
Yeah.
And Steve, we said hi to you. Doug Forrest, hello to you in Pasadena, California area. Dave Stange says hello to Terry, Mark, and Marty. Happy Thursday to you all. Tom Usiak, always happy to see you, Terry. He'll be here in a couple of weeks, I believe, so we'll
Okay.
try to get you over here while he's here. Carlton Bailey said that he's still trying to process the history I saw made last night. Spectacular. Rub it in, Carlton. Rub it in. I got messed up staying up to 4 in the morning on Monday, and I can't do that anymore. I'm too old. We were told, Carlton said, at least 5 seconds on the pad. Dean Babcock says hello. Hello to you, Dean. And Illinois, Nick Sedler. I love learning new things on this show every time. Well, you're going to learn 2 things. What does EDO mean? And the nose, the tippy nose of the shuttle. What's that made of, and what's that all about? Tom said, Celentano said it looks slower than the Saturn V, the New Glenn did, and I agree in the replays. And hello, Peggy. Great to learn all the activities today. Your sister there, Peggy Holbert. Good to see her. And let's see. Lynn says cold and snowy in West Virginia, as it should be in the middle of January. And SpaceX is launching at 5:37.
Okay.
Carlton Bailey says so. We'll get off here and watch it on there. So, thank you all for watching today. We're going to get to Terry's program here. Show you there the OPF, the Orbital Processing Facility. How many of those were there?
3. Initially, there were 2, and then when we realized that we could not maintain the maintenance that we had to do and the time frame we had to do it in, so we built a 3rd one. So
And we can see those when we tour Kennedy Space Center.
yes, you can. 2 of them are side by side, just west of the VAB, and one of them is slightly north and east of the other 2.
What are they used for today?
Well, X-37 has OPF 1 and 2.
That's our that's our space plane.
Yeah, and Boeing for their capsule, and that has OPF 3.
Starliner
Starliner.
is in there. They haven't locked the door on that yet.
No.
Okay. All right, but we want to remind everybody, Terry, you'll be there. I know 2 weeks from Sunday is the astronaut memorial at Sandpoint Park. If you're local, you will not want to miss this very reverent and patriotic ceremony. Andy Allen will be our guest speaker. Andy was a pilot and then a commander of Columbia, so
Okay.
it certainly means special to him in there. And you've been around Andy a bunch.
Yes,
Up Saturday.
yeah.
He's just a great guy, a Marine, Villanova graduate, grew up in Pennsylvania, not too far from the UCX there in Richboro is where he grew up, I believe. So we'll be talking more about that next week. Are you going out to the Pad 34 Apollo 1 ceremony next week on the 27th? That'd be a week from Monday.
Okay. Probably will. Yeah.
I've been invited to that. That's something. And go ahead, Marty.
Are you volunteering out there, Terry? Like
She
last year?
didn't ask me to yet, so
Yeah.
the email she sent me about it was kind of garbled, so, and I haven't been in communication with her. So.
Yeah, 'cause I keep thinking to email her. I'd like to volunteer out there.
Yeah.
We're
I
talking about
did last year.
We're talking about the Apollo 1 ceremony held every January 27th when our brave astronauts died on the Pad 34. They have a wonderful evening twilight ceremony out there, and a lot of the Grissom family show up. Of course, Roger Chaffee and Ed White. Some of their grandkids and even daughters show up for that. So anyway, we're on a sad note here. The gentleman on the right is Mr. Jim Harrington. He launched 22 space shuttles. He died right at the end of the year, and his funeral service is tomorrow locally. And I will be at that funeral to represent the American Space Museum. That is, of course, Bob Seek in the middle there. He launched 57 shuttles, and Mike Leinbach, who launched the last 37 shuttles there. You're looking at 3 men who launched 102 out of the 135 shuttle missions, and you've had meals with probably all of them at some
All of
point or
them, yep.
another.
Yep.
Well, Mr.
and,
Harrington
and discussions.
and discussions. This was at Shuttle Fest 1 when we had these three launch directors there who, the late Hugh Harris, the voice of NASA Public Affairs, said these three men have launched 3/4 of all of the human space flights in all eternity, is how Hugh put it. And you can't emphasize that enough. University of Miami guy, great guy. He was on Stay Curious on April 12th, 2022, the
Okay.
anniversary of the STS-1 launch. And Marty's going to replay that tomorrow for you all to enjoy. He was very involved since the 1950s in America's space program, a true national treasure, somebody who is a pioneer of the way we do things today. Mr. Jim Harrington there lived to age 89, and he said he's part of the Mercury program,
Okay.
and he said the most important, significant event of the Mercury program for him was when he met his wife Jean,
Okay.
who was working for General Dynamics,
Okay.
and they were married over 60 years. So God bless you. Ad Astra to you, Mr. Jim Harrington, and we will be saying goodbye to you tomorrow, and you'll be able to enjoy this wonderful man's story tomorrow as Marty will reprise that for us on Stay Curious. Well, extended duration orbiter. Okay, I even found a logo for it there.
Okay.
What was that?
Well, initially it started out before the space station was thought of and that, but it was a plan to support a spacecraft in space with the fuel and the oxygen it needed to run its fuel cells. Okay, it was basically, spare gas and that. So
Air and gas.
yeah, so they didn't utilize it, but when Space Shuttle came along, then they came out with the extended duration pallet that went into the
Well, let's just
aft.
look at this.
Yeah, it went into bays 11 of the orbiter. Now, Columbia was the one that carried it for most of its flights. Okay, it was configured to carry this because you had to do additional plumbing in there so that you could get this hydrogen and oxygen from this big pallet to the fuel cells and that. Now, Endeavour was also configured when it was being built to support EDO.
Oh,
Okay,
so the Alpha and the Omega were the ones that
yes,
had it.
yeah, and Endeavour only flew the pallet one time. All the rest of the pallet flights were conducted by Columbia, and of course we lost the pallet on STS-107 because that was an extended duration orbit, so they had the pallet in there. But there was one time in a vision to install a second pallet so they could potentially stay up 28 days with the extra hydrogen and oxygen and that they needed. But that never happened. They said no, that was too much weight. And they configured Atlantis, and right before they got finished getting it ready to carry EDO pallet, they decided nope, they didn't want to sacrifice the weight, so they didn't finish the modification, and then they removed what they had done, and they also did on Endeavour. After the one flight, they removed all of the configuration, the plumbing and that supported EDO, again for weight, so you could take more up to space station or more on a mission. So
Mm-hmm. Well, the beginning of this space truck in 1981, the first launch, the missions were what? Mostly 5 days.
Well, the earlier ones, yeah, were 2 and then less than 5, and then but the orbiter could support up to 10 days
Okay.
with its commodities on board. So beyond 10 days, then you really needed a pallet to supply the rest of it. And the pallet was actually serviced here when it was built. It was brought here, and we had a shop in the vehicle assembly building, or vertical assembly building, whichever way you look at it, to service this and test it. But we had to test all of the tanks and that for before we could service it. Then it was installed in the orbiter, and final servicing was at the launch pad.
Here you see technicians working on it there. Was one of those also air Oxygen,
There's
for the
to
crews?
my knowledge, there's 4 hydrogen tanks and 5 oxygen tanks.
So completely
But that
for,
one shows 8, so it must have been 4 and 4.
so they
but-
need it for reaction control thrusters or,
No, not to my knowledge. It was
Okay.
purely to support the fuel cells,
okay.
and for that, so yeah, and it had a lot more oxygen than it did hydrogen.
All right. Where these are the type of things found in the recovery of Columbia.
Yeah, that we're picking up things that we weren't really familiar with because we'd never taken those apart. Here, I mean, we serviced them in that, but yeah, there was, and because of some of the experiments they were doing, when we found things in Texas, said it looks like it could be, but we couldn't validate. Parts of the orbiter we could validate, but when we picked it up out in the field, so eventually some of the stuff we found, they said yes, that was payload related or pallet related.
You got a question for Terry about anything about the shuttle? Please chime in on there. John Borelli's up in New York. Limestone, New York, to be exactly, saying hello to all of us. He said it was an absolutely beautiful launch by Blue last night, and it did look cool on the video replays I saw. Also, Carlton Bailey noted as he was watching it through a telephoto lens the colors of the flame coming out of those 7 engines was very beautiful. I've heard other people comment about that too. So, well, here's the EDO, Extended Duration Orbiter pallet behind, and the OM's pods go on top of that, or are they in front of the OM's
this is
pods?
still down inside the payload bay. So
Okay.
the OMS pods don't start until you're aft of this. So that's in bay 11, and you still got bays 12 and 13, and then you start the end of the payload bay and the start of the aft bulkhead and the OMS pods. That's where the front of the OMS pods start.
What would be in there without those there?
Well, whatever the mission was, there would be getaway specials. There would
I guess
be
what's
gas.
throwing me away is that white wall between the space hab and
That's part of the EDO servicing.
Okay.
Okay.
That-
That's what's
that-
actually in bay 11. Yeah.
that's what's attached to
Yeah.
back here then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Let me go back here. Let's go back. Okay, so
Yeah.
I see. So that's actually white
Yes.
on this side
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
then,
And then the
insulated.
photos you have there don't have all the closeout because we have to put all the thermal control system blankets on there. We think about the tile and the blankets that protect the outside of the orbiter, but you also have to protect all of the hardware that's on the inside. So that's where all the thermal control system blankets go.
Where was the EDO installed
they,
at?
they look like this. The EDO was installed in the OPF.
Okay.
That's a thermal control system blanket. Okay, when Columbia was first built, they were all made out of gold foil. But then we went to this type here that still does just as good a job, but there are literally thousands and thousands of these blankets. Some of them are extremely thin, some of them are thicker, but most of these are held in by buttons that are sewn through or snaps that hold all this stuff in. So it's multi-layers.
Is it
different-
Nomex or what is it?
No, it's multi-layers of different fabrics, and off the top of my head, I can't quote them, but yeah.
As you
so,
see here,
yeah.
particularly over here, these
Yep.
pieces that you can see the layers inside there.
But everything on
And
the
this
big,
would be typically where on the shuttle?
well, I would have to look this one
Oh,
up by
okay.
part number, but all inside the payload bay. But if you open up the skin of the ship, these are things, but we literally had to change these associated with the payload. So we'd have to remove several thousand of them based on the payload that came out or the payload that was no longer there, and then put the new payload in and protect it with all of these. So
William Whiting's joined us. Hello, William. I would wonder can't wait to hear him. I know he saw the launch. The EDO increased the scientific research opportunities. Longer missions allowed for more in-depth science research and experiments in space. And again, I talk about to our guests, the shuttle 30-year era can be defined in 3 segments, up to STS-25, which is 51L, when we thought we had a space truck that was going to make money.
Yeah.
And then that changed In between was doing the science and
And that's
everything.
where this one was utilized
Yeah.
a lot. So this one
Uh,
first flew on STS 50.
And then the last third of the shuttle era is the construction of the space station, where the science pioneered in the middle third of it was pioneered in the payload bay and extended there.
And
The
all
first
the
one was
different-
STS 50.
Yeah.
I can look up the year on that. And how was the longest one up there?
The longest one
check out the
I
shuttle
think was
scroll
I
here.
think was 107. No, was STS 80 was 17 days and 15 hours.
And STS 50 was in 1992. The late Rich Richards was the commander of that.
Yeah, that one was 13 days.
And that was the 12th flight of Columbia in there. So, and you gave us the longest one was 17 days, STS 80, 3 weeks up there.
Yeah, and that was in 96.
STS 80, that was a long mission to be cooped up there in that cabin and stuff like that. STS 80 is Cockrell, Rominger, Tamara Jernigan. Look who signed my scroll there. Tom, right
Tom
there.
Jones,
Yeah, Tom Jones was on that, and Story Musgrave on there. So, and I also have Mr. Harrington's signature right there
Okay.
on my shuttle scroll here that I've got to retire it. It's been scrolled out there and starting to fall apart. Marty, you've got a question on that UCX family microphone.
We had 3 questions, and one of them from Dean Babcock. He's asking where was the EDO installed in the shuttle, but Terry, you just answered that
In
question.
Bay 11,
Right.
the payload bay. The payload bay has 13 bays, and it was in Bay 11, which is the third one from the back.
And the next question is from Doug Forrest. What is inside those foil blankets to make them padded?
Well, basically, it's
Let me show
it's
you.
airspace in there, but there's a multitude of different fabrics inside
I can peel
there.
that back a
Yeah,
little bit.
you can peel that back. Yeah. Yeah, that one's scrapped. So
Yeah, there's an area right there. Yeah. So it feels to me like memory foam, not as stiff.
Yeah.
But
but it depends where it's at. The blankets have a multitude of. I think that's the only blanket I have in my briefcase.
it's taped
Oh,
up.
no,
It's
no.
taped shut, not sewn. Correct. I see a lot of tape on it.
Well, this one's sewn, and you can
Okay.
see this one is nowhere near as thick as the one you were holding.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, the thicker one is probably a little over an inch, and this other one is less than 1/10 of an inch thick.
So, is this space flown
Yes,
hardware?
yes. Then you can see the parts tag on the back.
TCS.
TCS, Thermal Control System Blanket.
We see a lot of official unserviceable condemned tag material. Wow. Unserviceable condemned tag
In other
material.
words, we couldn't reuse it again. That one was removed, scrapped in 98.
Oh, October, in fact.
Yep.
And cool. We run across stuff like
No,
this.
that's what keeps it cool.
That's what keeps it cool. That's what keeps it cool. Exactly. I see the magic letter in front of it, V, but that's V5 on the code there. If you see something that says VO,
Yeah,
that's
VO
shuttle, right?
for yeah.
Vehicle
Yeah,
orbiter.
VO70. That's its actual part number. VO70 is for shuttle.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. The right here, over here, VO70.
And then
For
it
you
gives it,
people love inside stuff.
yeah, it's part number, and that will tell you exactly where it goes. The first 6 digits are the drawing number that calls out its installation and fabrication, and that, and then its individual
That
part number.
007's the location.
Yeah, and then they can trace this all the way back by that part number. They can trace this back to all of the different materials that it's made of. And you can see it's multi-layer, but some of the layers are extremely thin, you know. So there's many layers even making up that 1/10 of an inch
And
blanket.
this netting there,
That's for strength. Yeah, because the foil
that's heat
breaks
resistant
easy.
also.
Yes, it is.
Looks kind of like a mesh or a gauze type of medical gauze there, but nice. Very interesting. Yes, I enjoy stuff like this. Hope you all do too. Marty, another question?
Here we have three questions. I'm going to jump ahead to Doug Forrest's second question. It's a follow-up to your foil. Then I'll go back to the other two questions. Is the padding just for thermal control? Does it need to be fire resistant?
Well, the orbiter's not exposed to flames, so it's not a fire resistant thing. It's all about controlling the heat.
Well, we're talking about flames through the plasma coming in, but
Yeah, but the doors are closed. All of these are inside.
oh, okay.
They're inside, so that's, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we're not talking about the TPS or the outside
Yeah,
blankets
this
at
is
all.
this is TCS inside.
All right. TCS. All right. Marty?
Okay, and Dave Stang is asking, do you remember how much weight was saved when they stopped painting the ET?
360 some pounds, I believe.
600 pounds.
Oh, 600 pounds? Okay. Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Tom Usiak. Terry, I was wondering how much extra tile work you had to do on dinged and nicked tiles when they landed on the lake bed instead of the hard runway.
It was significant because they stirred up the small rocks in that actually pitted the tiles. And so we didn't like landing on the lake bed, if it could be prevented, but due to weather conditions and that sometimes, and initially they did because they had a lot more space than they did with the concrete runway or the
Well,
hard
it's
runway.
SDS3 he's
Yeah.
referring
Yeah,
to.
well,
but-
SDS3 out in White Sands, yeah, that one, I think we had worse from the debris coming up was the gypsum. I mean, it was like talcum powder, so it got in everything. So that was a big hazard in that. But yeah, you could go back and look just after the main landing gear tires, and you could see all the pitting where it just kicked all those things up against the underside of the orbiter.
Marty, I see Dean Babcock's got a good question.
Okay, yeah, Dean's asking, who's the manufacturer of the EDO? Were there any special hoses and fittings that had to, excuse me, that had to be used in the installation?
Nothing special than the other types of fittings that we already used in the orbiter and that, but my sources think Lockheed built the EDO, but I couldn't confirm that. But yeah, they were the same types of plumbing that we use, excuse me, throughout the rest of the payload bay.
You said there had to be extra fixtures, though, to go from these tanks, obviously, to the.
Yes, and that
And
goes.
why don't you show us on the model where the fuel cells were?
Well, the fuel cells would be up in bay 1 area of the payload bay, and then the EDO pallet would be back here. So in that white portion you were pointing out a minute ago on the EDO pallet, forward of the tanks, then that plumbing had to go in here and come all the way up through to service the.
Could they have moved the fuel cells to the back?
No.
Okay.
No, that's
I-
where they were designed to be, and it was
They're actually underneath here.
Yes,
as
yeah.
you've
So
shown
once
me
we
there.
did the airlock, then if we had a fuel cell problem, we had to remove the airlock, the external airlock, to access the fuel cells, which, drove a lot more testing and a lot more work. So yeah,
Mhm.
the fuel cells were pretty reliable though.
Yes, they were, except STS 83.
Yes.
Our good friend Don Thomas will be in the building, and at Shuttle Fest, he'll be here soon. So,
And 83 flew EDO, and so did its rerun 94.
Okay.
That's the only time we ever flew the same mission twice was
Yeah.
STS 83, which was aborted 3 days, and then we flew it again as STS 94, same crew, same payload, and all that, but still had the EDO pallet in it.
did that anomaly happen to have anything to do with the EDO
No,
on there?
no,
That was Jim Halsell, the pilot.
Yeah.
Susan Kilran.
not
Jim Halsell was the commander. Kilran, she
Yeah.
was the pilot. Jim Voss, Don Thomas, Gernhardt, Roger Crouch. We love Roger Crouch, and Linteris, his one and done. Yes, Marty.
Well, the EDO was, or Terry, the EDO was manufactured by Rockwell International.
okay.
All right. Thanks for the fact check there. So now we
I
won't
thought I
get
saw
sued by
something.
Lockheed.
Yeah, I thought I saw something on the screen a minute ago that said came from Rockwell, but
I looked it up.
oh, okay.
And Nick is Sedler's Nick Sedler. Thank you for your compliment there. this is what we do with guests is get things out, and just like the Apollo eras 50 years ago, half a century ago, I rolled my eyes. Wow.
Yep.
People are going to be fascinated about the shuttle era, and we're not going to let it die.
Yeah.
There's even some NASA VIPs that you and I know very well that feel like the shuttle will be forgotten about when the International Space Station is not orbiting the Earth, because we'll always remember Apollo because there's always going to be a moon up there.
Well, then we just got to keep the History Channel.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've heard an astronaut said they don't think the NASA channel plays enough shuttle
They don't.
stuff on there.
They don't.
All right.
Well, yeah.
Marcia Ivins complained about that to me, and I said, "Well, watch, stay curious, because we just did the shuttles of the month of January. 10 beautiful shuttles launched in January. Of course, one didn't work out, but just an amazing way that our world has been transformed in ways that you can't imagine. And Terry knows about it, and these workers are so proud of what they've done, and
Yeah.
we're always glad to have you here."
To clarify, though, my source said he thought it was Lockheed, but he wasn't sure. And that, but then he was the guy who had to install it. He was the move director putting that in. He was a mid-body lead
The
man.
guy that you talked about before the show today.
Yeah, and but yeah, he when you're installing something, you're not really worried about who built it. You're worried about it getting it into the spacecraft and getting it in properly and everything hooked up and that. So there's a lot of things that we didn't even care who built it. We just cared how it worked.
Marty left Paula Rothman's name up there, co-administrator of NASA Manned Space.
Okay.
Hello, Paula. Giving you some love there. I know Mitch is right beside you. They have a great Facebook page called NASA Manned Space.
Okay.
And can I change that? Oh, I did. Yay. I actually hit the right button. Okay. I must have hit that button. Marty, I just said I hit the wrong button, maybe, and Paula Rothman's name came up there.
I used that once before.
I'm fine there. I hit M. But
We'll counsel you later.
yeah, we'll counsel you later. No, Rothman's, thank you for your support of the American Space Museum. And we talked about you at our board meeting and how well you guys support us, and all you wonderful people out there. So we're going to move. How long did it take to install the EDO?
I did not
Dean
ask.
Babcock.
I did not ask that question. So,
Okay.
But I know.
Well, here you see it on the crane. So.
Yeah, but when we took it out, then it went over to the VAB to be deserviced and everything checked out again, and then brought back to the OPF when we were ready. Had the rest of the work done to install it.
What kind of pressures in those tanks? Had to be a consideration.
It was, yeah.
Of,
And they look like they're the Kevlar wrap tanks, where if you want something to survive, wrap it in Kevlar.
How many of these did you find during the Columbia recovery, just off top of your head?
I don't know. Personally, I only found the helium tank for the FRCS.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it was
FRC.
forward reactionary control system. That's the forward thrusters
Okay.
on the front of the orbiter. That's this module right here that has 16 thrusters that maneuver you when you're in space.
Okay. Let me hold on to that as we segue away from the EDO. I'm glad that you all learned a little something about the shuttle that you may not have known, but really 30 days, whew, in that cramped little orbiter. I wonder who was signing up for that when you guys were planning it there. But they did do 17 days.
Yeah.
And there were several missions, 16 and 12s and 13s and 14s in there. Well, we're
Yeah.
going to show you.
The tank that I found, like I say, Kevlar, it came down through the pine trees, knocked off limbs, impacted the ground, made a dent in the ground, but it was still 100% serviceable.
Wow. Huh. Amazing how things survive and stuff didn't. Well, we're coming at you here with the shuttle, and at the very tippy tip of nose of the shuttle, looks like a basset hound looking at you there, is this, the
Reinforced carbon nose cap.
right there at
Yep.
the end there.
Yeah, you can see the thrusters right there in that picture right above my head.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
At any rate, the reinforced carbon sees the most heat. It does see 3,000 degrees on re-entry. So
Put it on the table. Oh, you're good.
hitting the leading edge of the wings. So
Are they made of the same material?
same material.
RCC, reinforced carbon.
Yes.
And
And it starts out from wood. And it's then rayon cloth is one of the things making it up. But the nose
maybe
cap,
it starts
the nose
out by
cap,
it starts out as wood.
yeah.
Wood's behind that?
No,
Reinforced
no.
carbon
To make the rayon is made from wood. And it makes rayon, and then they use the rayon to make the nose cap.
Uh-huh.
So at any rate, so that's looking at it. The technician there is working on some of the insulation behind it. The tiles are their own insulation, so they don't need additional insulation underneath. The reinforced carbon gets extremely hot, but it still radiates the heat where the tiles hold it. So that nose cap is extremely hot after landing. I used to have to tell people, don't attempt to touch it. One, you're not supposed to touch the vehicle anyway with your hands, but if you touch it with your hands, your fingers may burn right to it. It's that extremely hot still. But
could you walk by it and
you
feel
can
the
walk
heat?
by it and you can feel the heat, but yeah, you had to put your hand up close, you can feel it. But people think they need to touch stuff, but yeah, it's multi-pieces. If you back up to the photo you just had there, if you look at it, you can see the seam line. So there's the very nose cap, and then it's configured of additional panels in that.
Yeah.
And it, like the leading edge of the
little
wing,
breaks there you
yeah,
see are bands behind
the
it.
leading edge of the wing, that is bolted on. All the rest of the thermal protection system on the orbiter is actually glued onto the orbiter. So that one, though, it gets mechanically fastened and that, but it has to, because of that heat, it has to have hundreds of these blankets. That's one that came out of the nose cap, okay, that protect that and stop the heat from radiating in. And a lot of people don't realize it, but inside the nose cap is a panel with 8 tiles on it, because of the heat, so that it doesn't radiate back into the forward reactionary control system.
So inside that
Yeah,
is
there's hundreds of these blankets,
they're like a beanbag toss for your
but no weight. They're
your
extremely
cornhole.
lightweight. Yeah.
no lightweight, but there is a little stuff in there.
Yep.
So great. We got a couple questions. One backs up a little bit there on the EDO that Tom Usiak is asking. Go ahead, Marty.
Where were the breathable oxygen tanks in the orbiter when there was no EDO?
They were down. What you can't see is what we call the liner level. We have a liner in the payload bay. Down underneath that are the tanks. They're in various locations, but they're down underneath. There's 25 different tanks on the orbiter. So some of them are in the orbiter maneuvering system, the hypergol tanks and that, and they also have their tanks for pressurization. The forward reactionary control system has its hypergol tanks and tanks for pressurization as well. So I don't have a picture with me showing all the 25 different tanks that's in for a typical mission. 399, that you're looking at the part number right there. He's reading the part number. 399 tells me that is in the nose cap.
I'll show that up closer. I was looking at the VO on the left.
VO 70399-476.
The man knows his shuttle numbers there, and very interesting. Very, very interesting. Go ahead, Marty, with Dean Babcock.
Yeah. Did you ever see debris strikes on the nose cap?
Yes.
Look, I'm
Yeah,
like a Cupid doll.
Yeah, we even had, he's making it non-flight worthy now by getting his body oils on it. But no, yes. And we did have repair procedures for very minor chips in that we could repair. But after the Columbia incident, we changed our whole criteria of what was repairable and that. But and they had mission life. In other words, the nose cap on Columbia wasn't the original one from STS-1. It flew so many flights, and then we replaced the nose cap. And the nose cap, like a lot of unusual parts for the orbiter, is that Jed Clampett kind of money.
Oh, yeah.
Them million dollars.
Yeah.
They told him they were going to pay him in some million dollars. So.
I've I've heard that. How about the aerodynamics of this cap here? And I've heard that hours, hundreds of hours, was spent polishing it to get it like a telescope mirror is ground
Well,
and polished. Is
it
that
could be, but the company that built it, I never went to them. I never saw their manufacturing and that. Ours was just installation, but you see it there. So
Mhm. So that's in the OPF.
that's
you
in the
think?
OPF. Yeah.
You know that gentleman?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. His name's Van Wart.
Look at
So-
the elbow.
Oh yes. Yeah. Well,
What
one
we call
one
that?
when you,
Instead of wearing a
yeah,
bunny suit,
he's got his gloves on, but he's got that, and it's mostly to protect from the adhesive or any things like that. These we had some components that were very irritating when you got them on your skin. This was not.
Mhm.
So it looks like there's a little bit of RTV involved there, but
Now, how many people are watching him work?
it should only be one.
I mean, would you don't have a quality control person
One
there?
quality control person might be watching him, but it
Okay.
depends which stages are.
Okay.
You know, in the earlier days, they were watching almost everything. Then we realized it wasn't necessary. So you could do a certain amount of work until you were going to cover something up. And then the quality had to look at it to make sure everything was right. And then the NASA quality had to step in and look at it. Anytime you were covering something up that you had to disassemble to see it again. So, yeah.
Well, fascinating. I enjoy this. Barry Smith is out there watching it at our docent desk. Hi, Barry. He does an awesome job as a Goddard engineer that worked on the Hubble and the Webb telescope. Gary Allgaier's also watching. Hey, Gary. I don't see Gary correcting anything here, so that's good. Cliff Watson, ARS, buddy. Australian Research and Space Exploration. That's their NASA. It's
Okay.
called ARS. Can't make this stuff up in America, okay? But he sent me and Marty these mugs for Christmas, and God bless you, brother. Hope you're enjoying summertime down there in Pomona, Australia. Marty, go ahead.
Yeah, Dean Babcock is asking, how many nose caps were used during the orbiter's life?
Like I say, I don't know because we had so many mission life, so we replaced it that, and then they, after research, NASA decided to extend the life of certain nose caps and keep them for a while and fly them more. And I don't know how many was used in the entire program.
Good questions. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Stay Curious. I know I certainly did. This is what we like doing with Terry, is just kind of bringing up some pieces and parts of the shuttle and having the man that knows about them tell us about them there.
Yep. And one of the things we learned after early days of the program is that the very first row of tile behind the nose cap, the 399415, they were getting so hot that it was actually melting the tile and slumping parts of it. So we did a modification where we removed that row of tile, actually 2 rows of tile, and we built what we called the chin panel, and it was built out of reinforced carbon to take the heat. Yeah. So we were concerned about getting a burn through up there, which could be catastrophic in that area. So yeah,
Right near the wheel.
yeah.
The
Well,
wheel
yeah,
well
yeah.
there, because that would have
Well,
gotten
a
the wheel well.
burn
and
through right there is going to feed you right up into the forward reactionary control system to your hypergol tanks. So yeah,
That'd be messy.
yeah.
That'd be messy. Terry, thank you enough. Not only is he a great wealth of information, but he's a good personal friend and brings us all treats and the girls hugs every time he comes here. So we're looking forward to another visit by Terry. He's also going to be part of our Shuttle Fest in April when we celebrate the 35th anniversary of the Hubble Space Telescope with 2 spacewalkers. We've got booked Joe Tanner and John Grunsfeld. And then we also have Eileen Collins and Don Thomas coming. And we know that we built it. There'll be some other astronauts that will come to see their friends. So we're looking forward to that. But keep in mind, again, 2 events that are coming up here is our astronaut memorial. This will be televised, so you'll be able to watch this live. 1 o'clock Sunday, January 26th. Talk to our production engineer is going to help Marty and I do that. And then, of course, the funeral of Mr. Jim Harrington is tomorrow at 2 o'clock at a Melbourne church. PM me if you're locally. Well, it was on our Facebook page there, but a great guy, lived a good long life, and he'll have a lot of friends there, including these two gentlemen that together. I just think it's so incredible. I think these three men launched 120, 100, what I say, 120, 102
Two.
of the 135 shuttle missions there. Mike Leinbach to the left, Bob Seek, and then the late Mr. Jim Harrington. And they're in front of, if you wondered, Tim Gagnon's recreation of the Space Mirror
Okay.
is what Tim did there. So rest in peace, Mr. Harrington. Thank you very much, my friend.
Yes, sir.
All right. And say hello to your family. Thank you for the treats. And Lynn Feathers said she learned a thing or two as she's huddling next to her fireplace up there in West Virginia. And Steve Jokums is up at the Lake County Spaceport in Fox Lake, Illinois, and he thoroughly enjoyed today's show too. And looking forward to seeing you again at Shuttle Fest.
Well, Lynn Travis made it back to Poland yesterday, so
okay,
he was over here for a few days.
that's
so.
your son doing
Yes.
another tour of duty
Yes.
in Europe now. So awesome. Well, Nick Sedler says, thanks, Terry. So we thank all of you. And remember, you're going to see Mr. Harrington's repeat show from 2 years ago. And I know you'll enjoy that. Thank you, Marty, for a great show today. And until next week, personally, I'm Mark Marquette saying, I can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us. Thanks.